Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're getting into the science behind that awful feeling. You know the one. Your body is just screaming for sleep, but your mind, it absolutely refuses to shut off.
So let's just start with a question that I am willing to bet you have asked yourself while staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning. Your body feels like it's hit a brick wall, but your brain is still running a full-blown marathon. What on earth is going on?
Well, it turns out this feeling actually has a name, wired but tired. And it's exactly that, a paradox. Your body is completely drained, but your brain is buzzing, totally overactive. So let's pull back the curtain and look at the science of why this happens. To really get to the bottom of this, we first need to look at a pattern, a behavioral loop that traps so many of us. It's this self-feeding cycle of stress that just builds and builds until you land in this exact state.
You know, researchers looking into high-pressure jobs actually came up with a fantastic model for this. They call it the medical student stress cycle. And listen, even if you're not a med student, this is going to feel very familiar. It perfectly shows how this burnout loop gets started.
Okay, so here's how the loop works. It starts with you feeling just completely buried by the amount of work you have to do. So what do? You set these massive, unrealistic goals to try and get on top of it. But of course, you fall behind. That leads to cramming, to pushing everything into a shorter time frame. All of that just cranks up the stress and exhaustion. Then you get this tiny moment of relief when it's done, right before the whole thing kicks off all over again.
Okay, so that's the pattern. But what's really fascinating is how this behavioral loop triggers a powerful chain reaction inside your body. See, this isn't just in your head. It's like you're pulling a biological fire alarm.
The easiest way to think about this is that your nervous system has a gas pedal and a brake. The gas pedal, that's your fight or flight response, it revs everything up. The brake is your rest and digest system, it cools everything down. Now when you're stuck in that stress cycle, your foot is just slammed on the gas pedal all day long. You can't just expect to hit the brakes and come to a gentle stop the second you get into bed. It just doesn't work that way.
And the main chemical that's keeping that pedal to the metal? It's cortisol. This is your body's built-in alarm system, the famous stress hormone. Normally, your cortisol levels should drop way down at night. But when you're under chronic stress, they stay high, basically screaming at your body that there's a threat, and it is not safe to power down.
And here's where it gets really messy. High cortisol levels basically sabotage another crucial hormone, melatonin. People call melatonin the hormone of darkness because your brain releases it when it gets dark to say, hey, it's time to wind down. But cortisol just barges in and overrides that signal, telling your brain, nope, bad timing, stay alert.
So now you've got this full-on battle raging inside you. See, all day long, another chemical called adenosine has been slowly building up in your brain. This creates what scientists call sleep pressure. That's the heavy, physically exhausted feeling you have. But because that cortisol alarm is just blaring, your brain is forced to completely ignore this powerful signal to sleep.
And this internal fight, it's not just a feeling. It has a real, measurable impact on people, and you really see it in high-stress environments.
For example, one study looked at over 400 university students. And get this, a staggering 54.1%, more than half, were found to have poor sleep quality. And the research showed a direct line, a clear correlation between their academic stress levels and just how badly they were sleeping.
All right, so we've got the behavior, the stress cycle. We've got the biology, the hormones at war. But there is one more culprit in this whole drama, the one that keeps the late-night show running, your own mind.
One source put this perfectly. It said that when you lie down in bed, your mind, which is now suddenly free from all the day's distractions, can become a fertile ground for rumination, just replaying the day's events and spinning up worries about tomorrow. And this is where we get caught in a perfect storm of psychological traps. First, you've got that rumination. Your mind is just on a hamster wheel it can't get off. Then there's something called sleep performance anxiety. That's when you get stressed about not sleeping, which of course makes it even harder to sleep. And then we throw in modern habits, like scrolling on our phones, where that blue light literally tricks our brain into thinking it's still daytime, shutting down that melatonin we so desperately need. Okay, so this might all sound a little daunting, but here's the really good news. Once you can see all the pieces of the cycle, the behavior, the biology, the psychology, you can also see the exact spots where you can intervene. You can see where to break the loop. And the solution isn't just to try harder to sleep, it's about being strategic. If you're feeling overwhelmed, try an active learning strategy like spaced repetition instead of just rereading notes. If you're setting those crazy goals, switch to SMART goals, the kind that are actually achievable. If you're always cramming, Try the Pomodoro technique, working in short, focused bursts. See, these aren't just productivity hacks. They are ways to actively signal to your nervous system that the emergency is over and it's finally okay to hit the brakes.
Ultimately, what this all comes down to is a really fundamental shift in your mindset. It's about treating your work and your well-being like a marathon, not a frantic series of sprints. That sustainable pace is what actually regulates your stress system in the long run and stops you from ending up wired but tired to begin with.
So now you get it. You've seen the cycle, you understand the science behind it, you know why you feel this way. And that means the power to change things is back in your hands. Which leaves us with just one final important question. Now that you can see your loop, where will you choose to break it?